Salam, Namaskar. The free and open source software. India has one of the largest group of software makers, are those who code software. And it is pertinent that we know what is free and open source software. Please look at this page. This video will be available even after this event. Go through the video carefully and go through all the web pages. So I start with GNU. In fact, GNU is, you see, it is the name of this African antelope, and GNU operating system and free and open source software. And one of the greatest exponents of this movement, free and open source software, Richard Stallman. Please go through it. I will now give you an account of what is the importance of free and open source software. All softwares come with a copyright. What is a copyright? What does copyright indicate? One guess will be it is funny but true that you do not have a right to copy. You can explain copyright this way. So if you copy a software, you are infringing into somebody's rights. Now, software is something special. Software is about owning something. But software is more abstract than many other things. If you get a software in a DVD, then you have a form for it. But software is nothing but a bunch of code. It is more abstract than owning a car. You can own a car. On a similar account, software is also copyrighted. So you don't have the liberty to do anything with the software. And in the present scenario of the world, almost everybody uses software, knowingly or unknowingly. So remember, you can own a car, but can you own a copyrighted software? Let us take the most popular operating system known as Windows. You buy it, but you don't own it. You are given what is known as a license. It is not like buying a car. Do you own it like a car? No. Okay, let us go to another pertinent point known as software piracy. Who is a pirate? A pirate is nothing but a thief. You copy a software from a friend, and are you going to be a pirate? But all those who are doing that, they are probably unaware. Is there software copying which you don't become a pirate? Yes, we can proudly tell that. It is free and open source software. In green it is titled FOSS, FOSS. Some people say also, so much fuss about FOSS, in a lighter vein. But yes, you can copy the free and open source software as much as you like without being branded as a pirate. What is free? Many people think free is cheap and open. Open means no doors. What about it? By using free and open source software, you have 4 types of freedom. We come with freedom 0, the freedom to run the program or the software for any purpose, no questions asked. Then freedom 1, freedom to study how the program works and adopt it to your need. This is freedom 1. Freedom 2, the freedom to redistribute copies. You make as many copies and distribute it. No problems with free and open source software. The GIS training we are imparting to you is based on free and open source software, right from EpiCollect 5, which is free and open source, to Quantum GIS. It is also known as QGIS. You distribute it, no issues, because it is free and open source software. Freedom 3, freedom to improve the software and release the improvements to the world. This is very pertinent to educational institutions like you. You use the software Quantum GIS extensively for agricultural engineering or various other domains, and you interact with the builders of the software if you cannot code yourself. But if you have people who can code for you, they can do wonders. They can actually make it work for you, make it improve for you, make it tailor-made for you. This is an important freedom, but it goes with a responsibility. You must give it back to the community, the improvements you make. Now, can you achieve security through open source? Some people ask this. I had some discussions with defense experts because it is since 2 decades I'm into open source software. When computers were just being used in India and internet was had to actually make its presence really felt, though it was there. Can you achieve security through openness? I had discussions with DRDO, one of the defense research laboratories, over a cup of tea with their engineers. So they wanted everything closed. But I visited our first scientist president, Abdul Kalam's, you can say, the laboratory at Delhi, where much of his achievements were all achieved. I said that unless you know what the software does for you, how can you ever use it? Because the missile you're going to use depends on software for its trajectories. Unless it is open, can you depend on something that is closed source? As simple as that. Unless you know the insides of a software, you should not use it. Now, I took the name of Kalam. Let us go to Kalam. Kalam open source. I'm just opening a web page for you. Just here, Kalam backs open source. This was from DataQuest. Our first president, Abdul Kalam, you see, dedicating the Pune-based Institute of I2IT, Abdul Kalam said that the future challenges in IT world entail looking for open source code so that users can build security algorithms. Wow, that speaks volumes. No doubt about that. If you are in the defense of the country, you must know the software that you use. For example, the National Security Agency, the United States of America, famous for keeping secrets, including their existence. NSA released SE Linux, a security-enhanced Linux version. Linux itself is the name of an operating system, just like Microsoft Windows, which is proprietary, no doubt. Linux, you should call it actually GNU Linux, because the project GNU of Stallman, it has much of Linux. So NSA, National Security Agency, has made its own operating system. So being open, it is so much important. So how secure is GNU Linux? Let's see. FOSS, open source versus proprietary. These slides are a few years old. If you go through the internet, maybe you'll get much better figures, because I am going through some stats. 985 bucks versus 114,000 bucks. 1,14,000 bucks for the proprietary software. It is unimaginable. Bugs are the errors. Free and open source software is transparent. Did someone say free? Now let's again go to free. Free as in freedom, not as in a free cup of tea. He used beer as an analogy. I would prefer using a free cup of tea. By Stallman, the great exponent of free and open source software. But free and open source software, do I have to learn Linux? FOSS is not open source centric. FOSS is available on Mac. Mac is an operating system. Microsoft Windows also, but using with GNU Linux, it provides security. Example, security from viruses. You need not run your antivirus programs if you are using the Quantum GIS on a GNU Linux system. In fact, in this particular YouTube cast, you can see my operating system is GNU Linux. So you can see to the leftmost, you have so many things. This is not how Windows functions. This is GNU Linux, by name Ubuntu. So then, free and open source. What is free? Seriously. Free is not like free of free cup of tea, but like freedom, Ajadi. Now, let us come to phosphagy. Let us give the connect we require between open source and free and open source software and for GIS. The acronym FOSFOG is used for this, and open source geospatial. You can see the logo here, open source geospatial. FOSFOG is name of the annual FOSFOG event held around the world. I mean, at least one location in the world. It goes on changing. And there is a FOSFOG Asia also. We held it a few years ago at IIIT Hyderabad. That is where the open source geospatial India is registered. So I give you a few logos here, and this Q with an arrow is Quantum GIS, and a lot of others which are also very important. Postgres SQL and PostGIS is the database GIS. Now, why use open source GIS? Works on all major platforms. ArcGIS now connects to PostGIS. ArcGIS is a very successful and costly proprietary GIS software. It is a known secret that many people, especially students, use pirated ArcGIS. No issues about that. But you have an equally good software, Quantum GIS. Use it on Linux, you don't attract any viruses. So I give my humble suggestion to the faculty of this August University and the students. After this training webinar, please try to use free and open source GIS first, even on Windows, and whenever possible, shift to open source operating system. Choose any of the GNU Linux. So PostGIS is open source GIS, which is used by ArcGIS. That itself shows the success and the impact the open source GIS has made. Closed source software, this is a cartoon. It is dollars, makes a lot of money. Open source software, organizations, several organizations, they together multiply and they make documentation. And remember, open source GIS doesn't forbid you from selling GIS. You can sell the GIS, but you can never make the source code of the GIS closed. That is the main difference. Who uses open source GIS? A few examples: ArcGIS, PostGIS. So ArcGIS uses open source GIS, database GIS, most popular in the world, PostGIS. Now, United Nations uses open source GIS. NASA uses open source GIS. Big projects like Linux, Apache, Mozilla, Firefox, OpenOffice, they all depend on open source. So there are stacks about this. Why teach open source GIS? Teach fundamentals of spatial data management and analysis rather than button memorization. So you know the fundamentals, you can use any tool. You know how to drive a car, within a very short duration of acquaintance, you can drive any car. That is the principle. So please don't get hooked to proprietary GIS, because nowadays everybody must use GIS, because geospatial data makes an impact in various ways. Agriculture engineering, agriculture pathology, so many. Wildlife studies, yes. Becoming an increasingly necessary job skill, GIS. And if you have open source GIS skill, you can tell the company, you don't have to buy me costly GIS. I can make a team myself. Wonderful. So code is open and human readable, whereas the proprietary GIS code will never be given to you, only a license. So this is PostGIS, then GeoServer, like that so many other open layers. They're all. GRASS is one of the oldest GIS. GRASS is Geographic Resource Analysis Support System. Please go through its web page. You will know it. This is awesome. This is also very popular, compiled in C++. Quantum GIS, that is also there. Go ahead. Later on, try GDAL. This is for exchanging formats. And okay, tell us what to do. You will all land jobs using GIS. Use FastGIS to get financial breakthrough. Tell your boss without any additional expenses. For example, the Department of Science and Technology now gives summer courses, winter courses on quantum GIS. That's what we are trying to acquaint you. So remember, GIS for society. What you need? For 15,000 you can get a desktop. Data 0. You'll come to know it, why data is 0. And your pleasure, your time. So you have GIS set up just for 15,000. This is from OpenStreetMap. OpenStreetMap itself is developed by people who wanted to set up their commercial interests with GIS. Please go to OpenStreetMap's wiki. You can see it. I'm showing you various areas. And this is from Bangkok. You have the satellite imagery also freely given. You can do the digitization. You can use QGIS to digitize with the satellite imagery provided to you and generate your data. What's more than that? So this is for Beijing, and this is for Cairo. Like that, any place, Colombo, most of India, including Srinagar, you will see it. Data from where? This is Lhasa. This is all by people who want to help society. And they have made the digitization, and all the vectors are for you to download and further improve it and then give it back to society. That is the freeness, possibilities, crime GIS, health GIS, RTI, right to information. And now for you, agriculture GIS. Well, right to information is like this. You can make anything that can be shown on a map, that you can get information through RTI, make a GIS map out of it, help society. Food for thought. So we have done a project by name Rajahmundry GIS. Rajahmundry is the city I belong to, and you can see it. This is the information. We got it from the municipal corporation Rajahmundry. We converted all that into a GIS. If science becomes all techniques and technology, it quickly degenerates into man against humanity. So we must use science for humanity. That is the most important thing. So wealth without work, pleasure without conscience, knowledge without character, commerce without morality, morality means ethics, science without humanity. And this great man, just with a few pencil strokes, you all know whom you make. Religion without sacrifice, politics without principles. Embark on open source GIS. With this, Khuda Hafiz, Namaskar.